Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome to the Team 3R race series, the Tour of Sicily. We're on stage 3 tonight. It's pan flat, about as flat as you can get, even flatter than Borrego Springs. So this should be one either for the sprinters or for a strong man that can stick a breakaway. We'll see what happens. I'm just going to say hello to everybody. There we go. So enjoy the race, folks. Obviously I'm sat here in my chair, so I'm not going to be taking part. I've had a pretty busy day and a busy week supporting Kate. I was riding this morning and I rode 2 hours with Kate, so I can't justify racing this evening as well. So I'm going to let you guys have at it. And anyway, it will give me the opportunity to do a better coverage if I'm not trying to commentate and race at the same time. Obviously, it's a lot easier to follow the front, middle and end of the race if I'm sat in my chair and I can use the keyboard shortcuts. So enjoy the racing. Let's have a fair race. I can't see any obvious spoilers tonight. So it does look like we're going to have a good race. Hopefully the message is getting through because I'm putting it pretty clearly in all the instructions and everything else. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to just have to stick my cycling shoes on though, just to turn the pedals. Can't do that in my socks. So I'll just grab my cycling shoes and stick them on. I mean, obviously I can take them off again, but it's 34 kilometers long, the course, but it's like I say, it's pan flat, so I'm expecting well under the hour, even for the tail enders tonight. So we'll see what transpires. But yes, it should be a fairly quick race, I would have thought. Riders are still arriving, but we're running out of time now, so this looks like it, folks. I'll jump on the bike, set you off, and then I'll continue coverage once I'm registered in the software. Just bear with me. Check my power and cadence are showing. They are. So there we go, folks. Come on, cadence. Have you shown? That's better. Let's have you showing. Okay, start your engines. And away you go. And away I go. Okay, that's me done. Let's so we're using spectate mode and pressing the N key. Let's just get into the software. There we go, takes us to the front. So you can see the two Team PR boys out there. My friend Luke and who's the other one? Evan Oystensen. So hopefully we'll have a good battle tonight. Now what I'll do in this early part of the race is we'll try and stay with the main group, obviously, to see whether a break goes up the road, but I'll also do what I'm doing here, hop backwards and have a look at who's been left behind. So you can see Clement and Cornejo have been left behind, and Kieran's. Now these riders that are currently riding solo, they do as well to try and form a small group themselves. So I know it's very difficult when you do get left behind. I don't know what's wrong with Hayden. He didn't look comfortable from the start, so we'll get in front and see what's happening. So we've got 19 riders online. Well, I'm number 19. Obviously, I don't count. I'll score 19 points tonight for being last. But I'm hoping that these two may well join up together, unless Kieran's is going too quick for Cornejo. But no, they may be able to ride together. And Mr. Cornejo can get on the on his wheel. That's what I'd try and do. Come on. Nope, doesn't look like he's going to make the effort. So, and then this is the front group, and I'm surprised to see Tim Cook hanging off the back, but he's a very strong rider. He won the last race, so don't expect him to be dropped that easily. I don't know whether flat suits him, but I suspect he will go well tonight. But you can see he's drafting as much as he can, probably to try and keep his wattage down. And then obviously we've got Luke. Now Luke's been taking part in the TABR Tate's bike ride with me. So he's been putting in some pretty hefty mileage as well. Be interesting to see how he goes tonight. My legs are not sore, I'm just tired. I've done quite a lot this week. I rode with Kate on Monday. I rode again today. I'll be riding tomorrow in the morning. So I'm doing a lot of mileage. Well, a lot of hours. Now, to be honest, I really expect this to be a bit of a, I won't use the word boring, but I think it will come down to a bunch sprint. I can't see any one rider pulling away from the group, because the group dynamic is too fast, I think, for one rider just to shoot off the front. But we'll see. I mean, you can see the speed they're going at, 36 kilometers an hour. They're not hanging about. So anyway, let's check on and Cook, as I say, is hanging off the back again. I really don't understand why he does this, because he's a strong rider. He could stay with the pack. So I don't know what he's doing by constantly dropping back and then having to close the gap. But who am I to speak on anybody else's tactics? What I do notice is that he seems very, very adept in saving wattage in drafting. So perhaps that's his game plan all along. Save as much wattage as he can. But if he's not careful, a gap can open up and then it can get too much to close. And Librex needs to be careful as well. He's obviously doing the same as Tim Cook, but he needs to be careful because, again, I've been in this situation myself, and it's very, very easy to just lose a wheel and then you're gone. I mean, it's out to 9 meters for him at the moment. There you go. You can see him on the road. So the gap's 9 meters, and he's having to put out red numbers, as you can see. So he's above his FTP just to close the gap. We call this burning matches. He's burning matches now to get back, and he's got back. You can see that he's quite, he's going to shoot through if he's not careful, but he's got back. But that's one of his matches burnt, and you only have so many in your box. So that's not very smart riding, if I'm honest. He won't thank me for saying so, but if he's honest with himself, he'll know that himself. Having to close gaps so early in a race is not a good tactic. Okay, let's work his way back and see what's happening further behind. So the next rider on the road is Clement, and he's not going to close this gap. He's 450 meters behind. And I'm sorry, Clement, but you're just not going to get there. You're not going to close that kind of gap. You know, even if you're putting in a watt kilo more effort than the rest of them, you're not going to close that gap. Not on a flat course like this where the group is just pulling away from you. And you can see that on the road. You can see what I'm saying. The group are doing less watt kilos than he is in the middle, and yet they're pulling out a lead. It's 500 now, and it's going up all the time. So he's very little chance of catching. And Kieran's is 97 meters away from. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong figure. He's a further 360 meters behind. So I don't think he's going to join the party either. These two could well end up coming together. Steele's putting in a good ride here. You could see him working at above his FTP there, going red. So he's really working hard, and he is actually bringing the gap down to Kieran's in front of him. So if he can do that, if he can join up with Kieran's, then the two of them can work that little bit harder to sort of, they're not going to close the gap on the group up front, but they might catch Clement if they work well together. It's a big might, but you never know, it could happen. Now, I'm glad to see that these two did join up together. So you've got Marky G and Cornejo joining up, and they need to do this. They need to ride together because they're well off the pace, and otherwise it's just going to be a solo ride for them, and there's no point in that. You know, if this was me, I'd be doing exactly the same. I'd be just hooking up with the nearest rider and trying to stay with him if he was stronger than me, or lead him out if he was weaker than me, whichever is the option. The last time I did a race was the Flemish, and this happened to me. I had Chris Little in front of me, and he was way too strong for me, but I actually sat on his wheel. He complained about it, but when I did try to go through, he just sped up, and I couldn't get past him. So, and when he eventually decided to drop me, he dropped me within seconds. So it wasn't a fair contest, to be honest. But I'm getting stronger, and I think in the future I'm going to be able to give riders like Chris Little a bit of a battle. Well, a bit better of a battle than I'm doing at the moment. Okay, and then so last man on the road, he's got going. Hayden has got going, but he's over a kilometre behind now. But he's actually doing considerably more wattage than the guys in front of him, so he could well end up closing that gap. We'll come back to him and see. Let's get back to the front. So this is the front of the race, and you've got Evan Oystensen from 3R, one of my team members. He's leading us out at the moment. Now Bellio's one to watch. He's a strong rider. You've got Luke there again from 3R. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably wait until we get to the, with it being a flat course, I'll wait till we get to the 2/3 distance of the race, and then I'll probably call who I think is going to take the win. There's absolutely no point in doing it at this stage, because this group is going to stay together, I feel. They may drop the odd rider, although Bellio is really trying to break it up here. You can see he's putting in a big effort. So let's go back to the front, and there you can see 4 watt kilos. So he's putting in a big effort to try and narrow down this group, which is good tactics. And he's from Team OTR, so they tend to know what they're doing. There you go again, you see, he's really pushing up the pace, and he's wanting others around him to work with him to push up the pace. Wilson has gone off the front. So if Bellio can get other riders to work with him and push the pace up, I mean, he's got Paul Prudell as well, another OTR rider. He's a very strong rider. So, you know, they could work together towards the end of this stage and maybe come up with something. What I don't quite understand is why, in fact, let's see if we can zoom in on Bellio and find out what jersey he's wearing, because I'm surprised to see he's not wearing the USA Crits, okay, because he's not wearing the OTR jersey. If I zoom out, you'll see is this one, the green and white, which I really like. I think it's a cracking jersey. But he's obviously wearing the USA Crits. Now, whether that means he's won one of the competitions or not, I'm not sure. Maybe he'll explain that to me at a later date. Zoom out a bit more so that we can see what's happening with the group. And you can see that, yes, they have managed to form a leading group now, and they've managed to drop. So let's work his way back through the group. Oh no, if Clement, no, it's the same size. I apologize. It just, when you zoom out like this, yeah, the group looks smaller, obviously, but it's not. It's the same size. So within this front group, obviously, you've got 12 riders. So we'll keep an eye on that and see whether they do manage to drop anybody. I mean, Clement's your next man on the road, and as I said earlier, he's, to be fair to the lad, he's doing well. He's managing to keep the gap at the moment under 1 kilometre at 913. Whether he will be able to hold that, we'll have to wait and see, because you can actually see that Wilson, let's just go page up, has had to put in a really big effort to get back to the group. That's why he shot through, because he was putting down big watts, and he shot through the group. That's not a good tactic. What you should try and do when you're closing the gap is you should try and just start to ease off as you're approaching a little bit, and then you smoothly enter the middle of the main pack rather than shooting through to the front. But obviously he's eased off now and he's got in the middle, but he shouldn't have gone to the front. He should have just eased himself into the middle of the pack. And it takes a bit of practice. I mean, many of these riders will be quite experienced on RGT, but it does take a bit of practice to get it right. And it's a good skill to have. We recently just finished James Ogilvy's skill series, race craft series, and that was very instrumental in sort of showing people how to do surges and how to take corners and this. how to position yourself, how to speed up, when to speed up. And I know that many of these riders riding here have taken on board what they learned and are using it to good effect. So Evan's looking nice and strong. He's just pushing out a nice 3 watt-kilo effort at the front. And you see, when you get a rider coming past and then slowing up, it does disrupt you slightly. So what you really want is you want a rider to come past and keep the pace high, and you need to be swapping leaders. We call it through and off. And if they do through and off, although in a race like this, it's not a chain gang, so everybody's riding for themselves. But if this was like a chain gang type ride, you'd have riders going through and off and each doing a fair turn on the front, and the speed would go up. A good tactic to use if you're trying to distance yourself from chasers, but they've no need to worry about that at the moment. The Breck's just having to close the gap there again. So we've still got the 12, and we've still got all 12 together. And as I say, Clement is now over a kilometre behind, so he is falling back. And I expected that because, you know, it's almost impossible for a solo rider. I mean, he's doing far more wattage than the people at the back of the group, like Luke, but he's not going to close that gap because they're all drafting and he's not. So he's on a thankless task there. Now these guys could well pull him in. They've already working well together, although the gap is holding steady at the moment, but they could well end up pulling him in. We'll see what happens. And these two are a good bit further behind, over a kilometre behind, so I think that's going to stay status quo. And then, as I say, Hayden, last man on the road. So back to the front, and Bellio's leading them out. Let's zoom out and find out what's happening with the group. There we go. Zoom back in and get to the back and see who is hanging off the back. Oh, it's Paul, and he's just rejoined the group, so I wouldn't expect Paul to get dropped. He's too experienced. Oh no, it's Evan. Is it? No, it's not. It's who's the OTR? Oh, it's Paul Pudell, the OTR guy at the back. So I think your excitement, viewers, is going to come towards the end of this race. I really honestly don't see anything really exciting happening until we get into the tail end of the race. You can see there's that little bit of a kicker at the halfway point. You can just see where it turns brown and orange. Now that could be the only place on this course where a rider could make a break. If he stomps up that in the big gear and really pushes out the watts, really kills himself, then a rider could potentially get a 20 metre, 30 metre gap and possibly stick it if he's strong enough. So we'll watch out for that. That's coming up in a few kilometres. You can see where I'm placing the mouse pointer just here. That's where I think if there's going to be a break, that's where it's going to have to happen. Because the only other option is this section here where it starts to rise slightly. Now it's not a steep rise. Let me just turn the here we go, turn the cam link off and transition across so that I disappear. Okay, and now if you watch, I'm just going to show you with the mouse pointer. Let's get the mouse over. There we go. This section here, you can see that that could be a point where if riders are tired and the stronger riders push on, we could also see a bit of a break here of the remaining riders that have managed to sort of stay together after this short climb. So they're the two sections really that we need to look at, because the rest of the profile doesn't lend itself to anything at all. You can see it's a very fast running. It's slightly downhill. They'll hardly notice it, and I'm only talking very slightly, but it's downhill enough to make for a very fast finish. So it's going to be a sprint, I think, but it's going to be a very fast sprint. And I think riders are going to have to go from a bit further out than what they normally would. Like normally you leave the sprint to the last sort of like 150, 160 meters. I think they're going to have to start winding it up before then on this finish, because it is slightly downhill. I could be wrong, but that's just a gut feeling I've got. I'm usually pretty good at calling these kind of races, so we'll see whether I prove to be right or not. Anyway, let's turn the cam link back on. So there I am. What I have set up in my studio, folks, is I have obviously the webcam, which is for when I'm riding myself. So that's a different, I have two cameras. The webcam is for when I'm riding on the bicycle. And this is the cam link. This is a digital single lens reflex camera attached to a cam link. And I use that whenever I'm doing like talking into the microphone in studio mode. So I'm going to be starting a vlog series pretty shortly, and so that's the whole point of setting up the two camera system, so that I can talk into the camera. Okay, time to work his way backwards and see what's happening lower down. Let's just make sure we're on the right screen. There we go. So have we still got 12 riders in the break? I think we have. Yeah, we have. So we've still got 12 in the break. Working my way through the group now, and there's Clement. So, and again, the gap's gone from 1.1 to 1.4 now, 1.45. So you can see what I advised you about, the fact that the gap would grow quite large by the end of the race is going to happen, because poor lad, there's no way he can ride on his own and close the gap. The two behind, and we'll just get to them, these two are actually closing in on him. You can see, if you look at Clement, he's at 291 at the moment, and now it's 290, 288. So you can see it's slowly coming down. He's doing well to hold them off as long as he is doing, but they're going to join him. So 3 riders. There's my alarm. So I just need to, just give us a minute. I need to get on the bike and turn the pedals. this keeps me in the, this is what you have to do in spectate mode, folks. You have to actually be part of the event, and every 30 minutes you have to turn the pedals, otherwise you get kicked out. So you turn the pedals, a couple of pedals, until your numbers show up on screen, which I'm looking at my phone and they have done. And then you can sit back down and continue commentary. And where was I? In the time that it's taken me to get onto the bike and turn the pedals, they've closed in another 50 meters. So these two are definitely going to catch up with Clement. And the three of them working together, I don't think they're going to close the gap, but they could bring it down a little if they work hard together. But they're never going to get back. You can see that the group in front, in fact, we'll go there because there you go. This explains the red numbers. So there's been a break and we've missed it. So let's just swing around and see what's happening. Oh, there we go. We're at the halfway point. Remember I told you about the climb? Well, what's happened is riders have tried to make the break on the climb. Luke's just coming back to them. And they've managed to drop Birch. So Luke's got back. Let's see who's been dropped then. Luke got back in, which I'm glad to see. But who got dropped? 9, 10. Crichton, he should get back on. Come on, sprint. Yeah, he's going to get back in. Once he gets the draft, he just needs to work a little bit harder, get that draft, and then get into the back of the pack. There you go. He's safe. So Crichton's got back. Wilson has been dropped. He's 48 meters behind. Now, he can kill himself and get back, but if he does, his race is over. So he's two choices here. He can absolutely murder himself to try and close that 60 odd meters. I don't think he would do it. The group are moving just too fast in front of him, and in fact he's not even trying. So he's settled for joining up with the guy behind, Birch. So Wilson and Birch will join forces, but they're not going anywhere. They're simply fighting now for 11th and 12th place because they're not going to catch the group in front. And I can say that with all certainty. I know for a fact they won't. So I should actually have kept my eye on the course, because what I said would happen happened. Although I expected more riders to get dropped, they managed to drop 2 from the main group on this climb here, the first one. So I think these 10 riders are going to stay together. I don't see them splitting until we get to the point I showed you earlier, this point here. And then when they get to this point here, just by my arm, I'm showing you with the mouse. When they get to that point there, then I think the stronger riders will put in a really big dig to go up that hill. It's not steep, but it is long enough just to make a break. You can see there's a slight orange bit here. So just there. And that's in fact where I think the riders will try to make the break. The gradient probably changes to about 4% there. Now Luke had to work really hard to close the gap, and yes, he did wonderful to come back to the group. I just hope he hasn't burnt too many matches doing so. We shall find out, because the next test, as I say, will be when we get to that rise. I mean, they're absolutely motoring. We're well past halfway and 29 minutes in, so yeah, absolutely motoring. Okay, let's check what's happening in the chat. Nothing really happening apart from market. Here we go. So you can see riders off the back are struggling to stay in contact. because the pace, and look who's pushing up the pace. Now, if I had to choose anybody to jump off the front, it would be Cook. So I'm actually, let's go to the front of the race. There's Cook. You zoom in. But you can see they've pulled him back. But they're going to have to watch Cook, because he did this last week. He jumped off the front and wasn't caught in the final part of the race. So he's one of the riders that really needs to be kept a close eye on. They can't allow him to make that kind of a break when they get to this point in the race here, because if they do, he's gone. It'll be good night and thank you. Poniatowski's was looking strong there. Bellio is always a contender. But I think, let's have a look. Who we got working strong here? We've got Wareham. He's looking good. But Poniatowski's on the front, and sorry, Poniatowski. I think he's going to be there and thereabouts at the finish. Who's my pick going to be? Still think it's too early to call. But I still think it's going to come down to a sprint. So who's the best sprinter amongst this lot? Let's watch the figures for a few minutes and see what we can glean from watching the riders. And they've managed to drop another rider. Let's just work his way back then. I'll try to. Paul Pudell, I think, is going to be a contender. Well, he's always a contender, but I think he's going to be there at the end. Now, they've managed to drop Evan, which is a bit of a surprise. So, and Evan won't get back on now. He's 80 odd meters behind. He might be as well, actually, waiting for Crichton and working together. Unless he feels he can stay away from him. If he feels he can stay away from him, then ride his own race. But sometimes you've just got to see how you feel. But you can see the gap's going out. It's 104 now, and it was 88. So the gap's going out. He's maintaining the gap to Crichton, even though Crichton is putting in a big effort to close. Evans managing to hold the gap. So, yeah, he's riding his own race. He's obviously wanting to finish top 10. And why not? Just keep it going, Evan. Good riding, mate. And there's Gary Birch in no man's land. Wilson, he's managing to hold the gap to Wilson behind him. So that could change before the end of the race. We'll see. Clement is working hard because he's managed to keep this gap at a reasonable level. It was going out pretty quickly, but he's managed to keep it. The last time we joined him, it was about 1.3, so it's only 1.5 now. So He's doing well. He's doing well to hold this gap as well as he is. Stadel is putting in a good effort, but he's in no man's land. He obviously was working harder than Kieran's behind him because they were riding together. So he's decided to go and do his own thing. And that's often a good call, folks. If if you're riding with a rider and he's not working hard enough, then take off and do your own thing. That's why when I was riding with Chris Little and he took off, I wasn't able to follow him because I knew he was much stronger than me. I was trying to drop him on the hills where I'm stronger, but he was catching me pretty quickly after the hill had finished on the downhill or the flats. And on the flats, I couldn't stay with him. And I knew that. So you've got to ride to your strengths. If you can manage to hold onto somebody's wheel and he's a much stronger rider, do that. There's nothing, never mind if somebody calls you a wheel sucker. It's clever racing. Well, it's nice to see Hayden has joined these two. So he was putting in a big effort to get there, and I suspect he will leave these two behind. So I suspect Hayden will actually leave Marky G and Cornejo behind by the time we come back to them next time. And I'm going to get back to the front because I don't want to miss any action. Let's see what's happening. We've got 10 kilometres to go and they're still knocking bells out of each other. So 7 bells. Yeah, there we go, look. So you've got Worthington now trying to make a break with Bellio. Now, I'll be honest, if Bellio and Worthington were able to stick this, then Bellio would be the clear favourite. Tim Cook gone past again. There, look. I really don't understand why he's so much stronger. Just, it makes it look easy. And at this, this is a beginner's race, and he just seems to be able to do what he wants. He's so much, and now he obviously is slowing up. You can tell from his heart rate he's not keeping the effort going. So he's deliberately letting the pack catch him to keep his watts down. I don't know. It's just, look, he's pushing on again. Very strange tactics. Very strange. So he's pulled the gap out to 50 odd meters. And it's a brave try to go from so far out. Here come the pack. So Bellio's pushing off the front. Get another view of the, make sure, yeah, spin it around a bit and get on top. There we go. It's a better view. Okay, just very quickly, I'm going to work my way back and see what's happening at the. There's Evan, still in no man's land, and still riding his own race. So he's shouldn't get caught with Birch and Crichton. Wilson, there's Clement. Not going to close the gap there. And Steedle has pulled out a fair old gap from Kieran's, who he was riding with, so he's obviously made the right decision to ride on his own. And I am surprised that these three have stayed together. I did expect Hayden, once he'd caught them, to push on. But having said that, if you look at if you look at the rider in front of him, he's probably doing the same as me. He's probably looked at Kieran's in front of him, 2 kilometres away, and thought there's no mileage in going up the road and riding on my own. So yeah, clever riding, Hayden, I have to say. That's the correct call. So the OTR boys are still pushing the pace up. Bellio and Pudel. But it's time, we're well past the 2/3 point where I said I'd pick my winner. From what I've seen, from the ease with which he simply went off the front of the pack twice, I'm going to go for Tim Cook because it just looks so easy. When he decides he wants to take off, he just takes off. So Now this is the other guy that I thought would do something. Librex. I called him earlier, very early on. I don't think he'll stick this. I don't think this is going to stick. But he's pushing at the point. Remember what I said, folks, about... Let me just show you. This point here, you can see with the mouse where the paddle is. I said this would be the point where if anybody was going to make a break, that's where they would try and do it. Now what we'll do is we'll go back to the pack. So we'll go page down and watch the pack behind him, because you see already the stronger rider's making the break. So already we've got, and I'm surprised, Poniatowski has been dropped. There he is. Oh no, he's got back. He's got back. I'm going to say, when I said I was surprised, I would have been surprised, because he's a strong rider. He looks to be one of the strongest in the pack, actually. And the way he clawed his way back there. So perhaps he'll be a contender for the sprint. Let's see if we can get them on the road. So have we got everybody together, or have they managed to drop anybody? Nope. Luke's at the back, but he's now back in the pack. So they're still all together. These 9 are still... Is it 9 or is it 8? No, 8. So we've gone from 12 to 10 to 8. And I'll be honest now, it does look like these 8 are going to go to the finish unless Tim Cook jumps off the front. I don't think that was a smart move by Librex. I think if he was going to do a clever move like that, he should have waited, because it was pretty obvious that the group would not allow him to go. If anybody's going to win this, apart from in the sprint, they're going to have to go from a long way out. So who's that running on? There's Paul Pradell. Now the OTR boys they're more than capable of doing the 2-up and going. But look who's closing them down. I think if it comes down to a sprint, I fancy Poniatowski. I really do. If it comes to a sprint, I'm not convinced it's going to do. It should be a sprint. It should be, you know, these 8 battling it out in the last couple of 100 meters. And I hope it is. I hope that's what happens. But based on what I've seen, I just think that Cook can just take off when he wants, and he'll leave them in the dust. Unless the OTR boys do the stuff. Never count this guy out, Pudell. He's a top rider. He's too far out now. This is not going to stick, guys. This is not going to stick. He's currently at 10 meters. This is not going to stick. Not without some help. And Cook, look, he's closing the gap on him anyway. So come on, let it go down to a sprint. Let's close in on them and let it go down to a sprint. This is exciting. I'm getting worked up with this. It's nice. Because the rides so far have been lumpy enough to sort out the wheat from the chaff. I knew this would be a sprinter stage and said so in my description, that this was one for the sprinters. And it now looks like it's going to be. I don't think anybody's going to break from here. So come on, guys, let's have an 8-man sprint. And anybody can win it from this point on. 1.6 to go. You can see the red banner. You can just see the red banner in the distance, the kite. It's coming up quick now. There you go. There's the red banner. So this is really good action, and as I said, it's a fairly fast run in. It does kick slightly at the end, but it is, they're not even going to notice it. By the time they get to the point where the course kicks, they're going to be going so fast they won't even notice that it's changed. Okay, so you got a point. Oh, there you go. Down. It's downhill now, right up until the last 500 meters. Well, 300 meters, and then it just kicks up gently, maybe to 0.1%. And still, all 8 of them are together. So who's your money on? I'm loving this. I like it when I'm right. When I can call a race. Now then, Hudau's surely is not going for a long one. No, that would never work. There's Bellio. No, they don't want to be going from that distance. That's too soon. Nobody's going to go for a long one from 600 meters out. It's just not going to happen. Not at this speed. Look at the speed they're doing. The speed's going up now. I still fancy Poniatowski. I really do. And he's in the perfect place. Look where he is. There's Bellio though. No, don't ever discount him. Tim Cook. Oh, somebody's done a long one. Worthington. Are they going to catch him? They're not, He's going to take it. Worthington's taken it. What a race. What a race. Cook second. So Cook will stay top of the leaderboard. Wow, what a race. Okay, let's watch the other riders coming in. So who's your money on out of these 3? I'm hoping Evan can take it, but I think Crichton will. Yeah. He's in the perfect position now. Although Evan's just nicely... No, don't go forward yet, Evan. Stay where you are. Come on, just get on that wheel. That's it. Evan could take this, actually. No, he doesn't want to go now. He needs to close up on Birch. No, he's lost the wheel. So I still think, yeah, I called it right. Crichton's going to take this, I think. Watch him come round now. There you go. Yeah, well done, Evan. Well done. Okay, there's Wilson coming under the banner. What we'll do, folks, don't quit and don't go away, because I'll pull up live the results on rgtdb.com. So as soon as Wilson comes home, I've got enough time to do that. We've got 1.5 kilometers before Clement comes in. So we've got time to pull up the result sheet. Yeah, don't go just yet, Simon. I'm just going to pull up the results. Oh shit! Okay, that's it then. Of course, I never expected it to go this long, so I didn't climb on the bike in time. Okay, well, we've seen the finish. I can't get back in now, folks. So actually, what I probably can do, hang about. Let's and we Yep, there we go. And if I do a display capture and transition that across, there you go. So now we can see the results in real time. So John Worthington took the win with an average of 2:43. Then Tim Cook came second, so he'll keep his top spot in the table. Mike Wareham with a really good third place. Oh, well done, Luke, in sixth place. And there you go, folks. Fair race. Nobody breaking the 3.2 barrier. Nobody pushing off the front and spoiling it for us. So, although it was only a small turnout, 17 riders I think we had, 18. It's been a fair race, and you can't ask any more than that. Okay, on that note, I'm going to say good night. Please hit the like button, and if you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing for more videos and to help me grow the channel. And on that note, I'm going to say good night. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll catch up with you later.